All right, in this video, this is the layout exercise. And the idea with this video is if you had a cabinet and you had multiple shelves and you wanted those shelves to be arranged so that the spacing between them was equal, how do you determine that? You can determine it mathematically. There's different ways to go about it. I'm going to show you how to do it with the dividers. Okay, so starting the exercise, the first thing is this line needs to be 2 inches from the end. So we're going to establish that with our crow's foot, measuring down, and we will square down and make our line. Okay, so now we want to divide that using the dividers, and as the divider steps down the board, it needs to step in a straight line. We don't want it to be a drunken sailor, a little bit over here, and a little bit over here. That's not going to give us accuracy. So we're going to take and just create a line down the board to give us a parallel line for our layout, or for our dividers to walk along. So I just take my square. Doesn't matter how far from the edge it is, but it's just a parallel line that we know is straight. Now, a little confusing part here. From this line, we want equal space, we want a shelf. We want an equal space, we want a shelf. We want an equal space, we want a shelf. So 3 shelves. So if our cabinet continued, where would the 4th shelf be? The bottom of the 4th shelf would be right here off the end. So in order to step this off, we need to go back. This line indicates the top of a shelf. So we need to go back 3/4 of an inch, or the thickness of the shelf. Okay, you will establish this with your square. Since I have this piece, I just use it as an offset block. Established an originating point. Okay, so now I'm going to take my dividers, okay, and I'm going to guesstimate. If I had to go from this point to the end, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal spaces, how far would that be? So I guesstimate 1, 2, 3, 4. And it turns out I'm a little short. So now I'm going to increase my divider by about 1/4 of that. So again, it's kind of a guesstimate. These dividers are very accurate. So we'll start over again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty close. Just a hair more. And that's what's cool with the dividers, is you can do that. And the accuracy is incredibly accurate. And we got no math. 2, 3, 4. I am right at the end. I feel pretty good. I'm just going to give it just a slight tweak. And I'm going to say good. So now I'll take this point and I'll mark it. I could use the pinpoint of the divider, but I'm going to mark it with the crow's foot. I'm going to step again. Mark it with the crow's foot. Reason that, oops, I shouldn't have lifted that up. Let me start again. Keep it on the board. Because we have cumulative error that can come back to really mess things up. All right, so I've laid those out. That indicates the underside of the shelf. Now if I want to go to the top side of the shelf, I do the same thing, but I'm starting again from this point. Make my mark. Again, don't lift it off the board. And we just walk down the board and walk down the board. Now, if I want to test, so I've got these 6 marks that will give us the locations for the 6 shelves. And if it's accurate, each of these spaces in between should be exact. So let's test that. I'm going to take my dividers. I'm going to dial it into the space between. All right, and so that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. And that is right on the end. So that is how you divide using a dividers to create equal spaces. Again, know that we have shelves. So the confusing part is, where do you start with that dividers? Well, we have to take that into account by moving the starting point, the thickness of the shelf, because the last shelf would essentially be here.